Okay, well, anyway, I'm Greg Scott. I'm a TAM technic. I'm farsighted, so everything far away is blurry when I wear these, and you guys all just kind of look blurry. So I'm going to take that off. I'll put them back on if I need them. So a TAM, a technical account manager, what we do is post sales. Red Hat's biggest customers spend money for TAMs, and we make sure the customers get white glove service. That's what TAMs do. I work in a group called the Telco Group. So pick your big phone company, and there's somebody from my team probably involved with them. So that's what I do. And we're going to talk about a couple things. We're going to talk about RHEL security, some security stuff embedded with RHEL, and then some security stuff that's embedded with Red Hat subscriptions, which are really cool. And then I love this Logitech. Oh wait, you got to go here to do it. The stupid thing doesn't work. Just do it the old-fashioned way. Maybe I have to turn. Give me a second. Standard Microsoft fix. If it doesn't work, cycle the power. All right, there we go. So there's a bunch of references I wanted to show you, and I put them all right in the front. Those are all links, and I'll make a PDF out of this so you'll have the PDF, and the links will be linked so you can drill down to everything and get more detail. I've got, how much time do I have? Probably not much. Not enough time to go. We're going to barely scratch the surface of any of this. Any security presentation, what that means is there's too much to cover and not enough time to cover it all. So we'll just fly through everything. Oh, I know what I did wrong. I hit the wrong button. Look at that. So there's a menu of stuff, but you got to point at the laptop. If you point at the screen, it doesn't work. First up with RHEL is this thing called FIPS, Federal Information Processing Standard, and it's a government standard. There's a bunch of numbers, and FIPS is a mechanism to have proper government certified encryption keys and a whole set of government certified properties. The certification process is arduous. It takes a long time, and if my pointer works right there, that's a link to a knowledge base article that shows you the state of Red Hat products at any given time during the certification. So the teams keep up with that. So FIPS is number one on the list, and we're going to go through. There's a book called the Red Hat Enterprise Linux Hardening Guide. I'm going to fly through the chapters of that book for the first section here. Cryptographic policies. And remember in the old days when we had to set policies for every single app? So the web server, HTTPD would have something, and every single app would have its own way to do cryptography. And that drove people nuts. So Red Hat put all those things together in policies. So there's a policy called legacy, and that's a little bit more liberal, and it works with older stuff. There's a policy called default, and there's a policy called future, and then another policy called FIPS. You click some buttons and set the policies the way you want, and it sets all the applications the way that they go with that policy. Or you can set your own apps individually, or you can make your own. And then there's another, there's a whole subsystem around smart cards and hardware access. And there's a subsystem called PALKit where you set RHEL policies to match the hardware devices that you use for authentication. So that was the best graphic I could come up with, was a picture of my old Red Hat badge. It doesn't even work anymore. It's obsolete. So people have these smart cards, or they have one-time password generators, those kinds of things. That's what PALKit is all about, and that's Red Hat's got support for that. This is a big deal, the Open SCAP. So we have HIPAA regulations, and we have financial regulations and all kinds of regulations where systems have to be a certain way. SCAP is for setting your system to comply with those regulations. OpenSCAP also has another facility for vulnerability scanning, but don't use it. It depends on a database called OVO, which is going away, and I'll give you more on that in a minute. Use SCAP for compliance scanning, not so much for vulnerability scanning. Use Insights instead. Yes, sir.
You either hold the mic a little bit further away from your voice. You're blasting up.
Oh, sorry.
It's really loud.
Thanks. Sorry.
I don't know if anyone agrees with me, but
No, I have a loud voice. Is this better without a mic? Right? How's that?
that's better.
Okay.
You're
All right.
just like within inches.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry. Thank you for. Sorry, I apologize to everybody's ears. Okay. I've only got one good ear, too, so my wife gets after me. Turn the TV down, Greg, and I can hear it, but it blasts everybody out in the whole house. So thank you for that. Keylime is there's a couple facilities to make sure that the system, to ensure system integrity. So with Keylime, I take a baseline of the system, and here's how all the files look, and then I monitor it periodically to make sure none of the files have changed. And there's a receiver and an agent. The agent and the receiver talk to each other, and if something's changed, it lets you know about it. And chapter 7 of that book has details about how to set it up and how to use it. Advanced intrusion detection. So as soon as you see intrusion detection, we think of packet filtering stuff. Well, that's not what this is. This is another file looker-adder thing. If the files are different, we take a baseline. If the files are different, then we know somebody's done an intrusion and we can take action. So that's a file thing, not a packet thing. And then we've got facilities to do disk encryption. Everyone that's got a Red Hat laptop knows about LUX because that's how we encrypt our disks. So if somebody steals our laptops, they're not going to steal anything useful. The challenge with LUX is when I boot the laptop, I have to give it this password by hand. That makes sense for a traveling laptop. It doesn't make sense for a server inside of a data center that nobody's going to see because it's 1,000 miles away from where I live. So there's a facility called network-bound disk encryption where another server in the data center someplace can keep track of all those encryption keys. So I boot my system with an encrypted disk. It talks to the NBDE server and gets the keys it needs and then comes back up and is running. That's how we do automated data centers and still have the disk encryption. It works from the side. Isn't that cool? Auditing is just what you think it would be. I can audit system events of interest, and there's a whole big long list of events I can audit and a way to set that up. If anybody has ideas for a better graphic than the tax form, I'm all ears. And then the file access policy daemon is another one with a weird name because it doesn't regulate access to files, it regulates access to applications. So user Greg is authorized to use email, so I can set that up. But user Daniel is not authorized for email, so I can do whitelists and blacklists and things like that for the policy daemon. USB guard is another one. So does anybody remember Stuxnet from the Iranians from a long time ago? And yeah, the Israelis and the U.S. National Security Agency did not introduce malicious software into Iran to screw up their nuclear centrifuges, but we think that somebody introduced them with evil software. Well, from their point of view, evil software on a USB stick. So we can guard against evil software on USB sticks with USB guard. I can set up policies to whitelist or blacklist ports or devices. So Greg's USB device with ID, whatever it is good. But John's USB stick or nobody else's USB stick is any good. I can do stuff like that with USB guard. And then logging, I can set up. Everybody's familiar with our syslog, right? Yes. So I can set up a RHEL system to capture remote logs and display those and send those off to monitoring systems and stations and stuff like that. There's a whole big, long, extensive set of logging capabilities that I can do with RHEL. And then session recording. Session recording is more primitive than I thought it was. You like my picture of a VCR tape? Session recording is for terminal sessions and SSH sessions, and it records the stuff in the journal. I can also record it in our syslog if I want to. At first, when I first saw this, I thought it was going to make like an MP3 file of everything I did, but that's not what it does. It records the keystrokes and the responses in a log file. And then SE Linux. How many people love SE Linux? And some do. All right, cool. Is getting in with making those policies, is that just your favorite thing in the whole world? No? Job security. SE Linux is mandatory access control. That's the idea. And we urge everybody to turn it on, and a lot of people turn it off. But I'll urge you to turn it on. It's the kind of like the thing of last resort. So Greg has permission to touch all these things, and so Greg gets in there and touches them, and things that he shouldn't touch. And with SE Linux configured properly, that can act as a last resort to blowing up your system. And so mandatory access control is a good thing, but it's hassle to manage. The next is tunnels. There's a bazillion choices for tunnels in the Red Hat world. Prior to Red Hat, I spent like 15 years building IPsec tunnels and then open VPN tunnels. There's trade-offs for which kind of tunnels are better than the other, and we can go deep into that later if you want to. The cool thing is I can use these RHEL systems to make tunnels all over the internet, and I can build a virtual private network with everybody everywhere. SSH tunnels drive me nuts. That's why I made a slide for SSH. That slide is as much for me as everybody else. So I'm on a workstation out here on my side of the internet, and I want to do a VNC session to my key server inside the company someplace. How do I get there? And how do I get there and make sure that nobody else gets there? So I set up this Bastion server, and the VNC server listens on port 5901, but it only listens to the Bastion server. The Bastion server listens to SSH from everybody, but especially from me. And so I set up this tunnel on my workstation to SSH through the Bastion server, change that to port 5901 into the VNC server. And this drove me nuts. When I want a VNC into this thing on the other side of the internet, why do I go to 127.0.0.1? I lost sleep over that. I lost sleep over it. Well, that's why, because you had this SSH tunnel that does all this magic forwarding. Think of that as a free way to do system admin tunneling if you need something in a pinch, and you have a little time, some time ahead of time to set it up. That's the way to do it for. I was about to say that's the way to do it for free, but there ain't no such thing as free in this world. That's the way to do it without spending any money. You spend sweat equity instead. And then identity management is a big deal. There's a whole set of books now about identity management. Anybody run Windows domains? Like everybody? Yeah. So we can RHEL can be a Windows domain controller, and RHEL can also be it can be its own Windows Active Directory domain, and we can do trust relationships with other domains inside the enterprise. We can do most of that Microsoft stuff that Microsoft people have been doing since 2020 or 2019 or so. So that identity management can do a lot of stuff with LDAP and a lot of stuff with Active Directory, and that's how we know that you're really you instead of somebody impersonating you. And then GNU's not Unix, GNU. The privacy guard stuff. I encrypt a file, I send it, and my partner can decrypt it. That's how we do emails like that all the time. And and firewalls. I spent the same amount of years building firewalls. I probably built a couple hundred firewalls over the years, and everything I built is obsolete. IP tables is just as obsolete now, and there's a new NF tables is a new thing that's real abstract, and I have to spend some time understanding it again. It's one of what we do in this industry is we reinvent ourselves every few years. That's the profession we've chosen. And that's the Red Hat, the RHEL menu. Here's the subscription menu, and first up is security updates. And I put there's like a bazillion. We don't say YUM anymore. We say DNF, but DNF and YUM are the same thing now. DNF, we call it YUM version whatever it is, but it's DNF. So here's a bunch of DNF commands we can do to keep our systems updated. So if I have like one system and I want to keep it updated by hand, I can do these commands and make sure it stays updated. Then Red Hat Insights, we touched on that just a little bit ago. Red Hat Insights, I register my systems with Red Hat. They send telemetry in periodically, and Red Hat keeps track of all this telemetry and keeps it all in a database. And then I can get reports on how I'm vulnerable and how I might do some tuning recommendations and how I might improve performance. And I think, yeah, I did. I've got oh crud. Where did that go? Oh, I can point. Try the pointer. Right there, that demo, that's a video demo I put on my website. So click on that link and it'll take you right there, and you can watch a video for the basics of how Insights works. What if I could do this? That's pretty cool. I didn't have to point at anything. The Red Hat Security Repository. Oh, by the way, if there's time at the end, I've got a pop quiz for you, and we'll do a quick giveaway. Everything you need to know about Red Hat security is in one URL, access.redhat.com/security, and then navigate where you want to go to from there. And there's a human readable database and a machine readable database. And here's a quick example of both. Any CVEs? Everybody heard the term CVE? Common vulnerabilities and exceptions. Used to be CVEs came in like every few days there'd be a new CVE. Now there's, pick your day, there might be a dozen on any given day. They're coming in fast and furious, and they're coming in faster and faster and furiouser and furiouser. There's a whole triage team inside Red Hat that keeps track of this stuff and comes up with mitigations and sends those off to engineering teams to do fixes. It's like a bug fixing factory. And then there's the machine readable database. Now this is where things get better, complicated but better. There was a system called OVAL. I forget what I wrote the Open Vulnerability Assessment Language. OVAL had two states, either fixed or non-fixed, and that's not good enough anymore. So there's a new, the security team came up with a new, ooh, that was weird. Did I do that? Hold it this way. The security team came up with a new system called VEX files. VEX files have a lot more granular representations for states of bugs, and that's how. Going forward, that's how we're going to keep track of CVEs. So every CVE, the security team will generate a VEX file, and we'll keep that VEX file updated through that CVE's lifetime. So then, if you're going to do vulnerability scans, you want to do the VEX. You want to go to VEX files. Don't go to OVAL. So if when you're engaging with your auditors, find out what they use for their feed. If they say OVAL, that's obsolete. It's not. No one's going to update it after the end of 2024. It'll still be good through RHEL 9's lifetime. RHEL 10, probably not. So VEX files are a big deal. And then we have this whole menu of tools. There's a couple other things I wanted to talk about quickly, and one of them is some things to avoid data breaches. So let's talk about. I want to talk about bug hunting, and that's my humor. Colonel Bug. Yeah, what a reaction from the room. They're laughing like crazy. Okay. Bug hunting's come a long way since 1995. MITRE Corporation started the CV operation. Today, it's not your grandfather's vulnerability scanning. There's a group called CVE.org that tracks this stuff, and there's lots of people that are members. MITRE is one organization of many, and not a lot of people know this yet. Red Hat, get back there. Red Hat, boy, that went nuts. Right there, right there. Red Hat occupies a special role in the CV infrastructure called a root player. So here's some definitions. And we're not going to go over all these definitions except for root. Root means that you train other organizations on how to use this stuff. And that you have to be pretty trusted in that community for it to get that role. So I'm kind of proud of that. And then there's the CISA is a big player. The United States government CISA, the cybersecurity agency. Yes, sir. I'm doing it. Sorry, doing it again.
Move your hand up close to the silver, so it's easy.
Better like that.
Well, then you can just hold it down.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I'll keep working on it. Right about here.
Yeah.
Not here. 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 Okay. I'll keep working on it. I'll learn how to use this high-tech stuff one of these days. Minor corporation is still a major player, but they're one player of many. That's the point of that slide. And then the other, I did it again. The other term is Z-stream. And I was in an audit situation with a customer a couple months ago, and we mentioned the word Z-stream, and they freaked out. Don't use these technical words because we're managers. We don't know what they mean. So a Z-stream means we number versions kind of like a Dewey Decimal System, x.y.z. And every time z goes up, that means there's some more patches and some more bug fixes, but the functions are pretty much the same. So major number, minor number, and then patch level, x.y.z. So a new Z stream means we just hit another patch level. Now here's where it gets complicated. Think about cars. This example is goofy, but think about cars. Every year there's a new the car companies come out with a new model car, right? And so then the old model car, they don't develop the old model anymore, and now they develop the new model. In the Red Hat world, we continue applying patches to old versions. So an old version will get a new Z stream. So it's possible, it's weird, but it's possible that a new Z stream of an old version might have patches that an old Z stream of a new version doesn't have. But keep up with your patches, and that's not anything to worry about. Well, anyway, we tried to explain that to a customer, and they freaked out. So I want to make sure that the concept of Z streams makes sense. Are we good? You can say yes. It's okay. Okay. Thumbs up. That was a thumbs up. That wasn't raising your hand. Okay. All right. Okay. So that's Z streams. Now then, quick on the CVE lifecycle. It's just what you think it is. Somebody finds a problem, they report it. They go through a process. Once they go through the process, it's got a CVE number, and everybody can get access to it. Sometimes CVEs will have a period where you can't talk about it. Embargo, that's the word. They'll have an embargo period where you can't talk about it. Embargoes are controversial, and I think most of the time they do more good than they do harm. I really should have silenced my phone. Sorry about that. So that's bug hunting. The other thing I want to talk about was this thing called a supply chain attack. Me and Benny Hill. I'll put this over here somewhere. I kind of like yakety sax. I had no idea who was that. This is probably a spam call. Supply chain attacks are a big deal, and this is another thing that a lot of managers who don't do technology for a living just don't get. So here's how to explain supply chain attacks. So good, that worked. So put in your mind, everybody reads spy novels, and we've always seen spy movies, right? Put a vision in your head of a room where the good guys are sitting around a table and they're plotting how are we going to save the world. Okay, put that picture in your head. But bad guys, I went one too far. That's the good guys. That's the bad guys. The bad guy is bugging the room where the good guys are plotting to take over the world. So everything the good guys talk about, the bad guys are recording. Does that make sense so far? So if you're like a master bad guy, you figured out that it's labor intensive to bug a room. You have to sneak into the room beforehand, and you have to plant your bugs, and you have to do a lot of work to bug that room. It just doesn't scale very well, think in IT terms. So how do you make it scale? That's what that slide's all about. So here's how you make it scale. You take over the light bulb factory. And every time they change a light bulb, now you own the room because you planted bugs and light bulbs all over the place. So you've attacked their supply of light bulbs. Does that picture work? That's how you explain this to your managers. And of course, the biggie was SolarWinds. I can't believe this is the end of 2024. That was almost 5 years ago now. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 years ago. So I have two takeaways from SolarWinds. One takeaway was, I did it again, didn't I? One takeaway from SolarWinds was, there was a SolarWinds vice president who wrote a blog post about how open source software is inherently insecure because everybody can contribute to it. And then a few months later, they were part of the worst invasion in the whole world that the world had ever seen. So that was one takeaway. Another takeaway was somebody really did get inside SolarWinds and screwed up and polluted their software development environment. So then when they sent patches out to their customers, now the attackers were inside all their customers' networks, including the US federal government and pretty much every Fortune 500 company you can think of. It was really, really, really bad, and we're still recovering from it all these years later. So that triggered a lot of soul searching. And Red Hat is came up with this concept called the trusted software supply chain. We're not going to dig deep into it, but there's a link with all kinds of information. There's a bunch of projects underway and a bunch of part numbers and parts that we can buy and consulting engagements to make sure that when we do software, when Red Hat does software, when customers do software, you can feel good that what you ship to customers is the stuff that you actually developed and somebody else didn't get inside your environment and pollute it for you. Does that make sense? And then I'll give you another thing on that too. If you're buying software from somebody, ask the hard questions about how do you know that the software you're buying from them is any good? And make sure they give you something that's verifiable, like trust but verify from President Reagan. Because we all trusted SolarWinds and we got burned, so let's not get burned again. So now we're secure and everything will be all better, right? Right? Right. You know where I'm going with this. And so how do I become secure? There's no such thing as secure because it's all risk management. So I thought I should close a couple things. Here's some tactics that you can use to pretty much guarantee that somebody's going to plunder you. And so allow tech tools to supersede old-fashioned human judgment. No matter how good our technology gets, there's no substitute for what we do, what we human beings do. Don't go too gaga on the AI bandwagon. That's an opinion, but I'm right. And then yeah, don't trust the government. I have all kinds of stories about government agencies who want us to trust them. I've lived a few of them. Hit me up later and we'll swap some colorful stories around that. There's stories around every one of these things. Don't become a slave to checklists. So if you do this, you'll end up like this, and that's how that works. So here's how to get a hold. There's my work contact information. How much time we got?
Yeah, a couple minutes.
We're good. Okay. All right. That's how to get a hold of me at work, and that's how to get a hold of me at home. And now we're going to do a pop quiz. You guys ready for a pop quiz? Oh, and okay. So this is book number 1, published in 2015. It's a story about a major retailer who loses 40 million customer credit card numbers to some overseas attackers. People in this room will enjoy it. So here's the pop quiz. Whoever answers first gets the book. You ready? Say yes. Yeah. Okay. What's the URL to find everything you need to find about Red Hat security? Yeah, gentleman in the back. Did you? Somebody said it, but I only got one good ear. Well, whoever said it, come here. Here. I don't want to throw it because it's a book. I want to give it to you. Well, we can make it that way if you want.
Well, yeah.
Oh, well.
My wife's a librarian.
Oh, yeah. All right. Okay. All right. I'll sign. Give me. All right. I'll sign a copy and I'll give the mic back to Mark.
All right.
Thanks for putting up with me.
Any questions? There's a pen right there.
Oh yeah, I got. We have the technology. The batteries never go bad.
So you're a part-time author.
Yeah.
Full-time comedian, part-time author.
nights and
Night job is
yeah, nights and weekends I look for ways to hijack trucks and make cell phone bombs and blow up the world.
All right, cool. Well, we'll get the next presenter up. I'm not sure. I know it's IBM. They're presenting. Yep. All right. So why don't you come up and we'll get you plugged in and we'll get ready to roll.